Welcome back, everyone. You're looking at a picture, obviously not from today, but this is Westchester Medical Center. It's a staple for critical care in the county of Westchester, and for that matter, for the surrounding area for more than 30 years. It is the only trauma center, not just in the county, but really when you're talking about Albany going down to the city. But Sunday, it came word that the hospital will not accept any health insurance coverage that issued through the state exchange. It's saying no to New York Obamacare, if you will, and the people who use it. Now, there's still negotiations, but as we speak here today, that's the reality. Now, this despite the hospital's long connection to the public, and let's be honest, the public money. Westchester Medical Center, it began as a public hospital and is now a public benefit corporation. Their buildings and their land they sit on still owned by taxpayers, and its workers are members of the state pension system that is also, yes, taxpayer funded. So why are they rejecting the taxpayers who use the health exchange? Well, the CEO of the hospital, Michael Israel, says, quote, "We want to participate. We have not been offered rates that we can live with." And for more, I want to bring in our panel tonight. Michael Kaplowitz is here. He's the recently elected Democratic chairman of the Westchester County Board of Legislators. Lucky you. And also our regular panelists, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, Andrew Whitman, senior political correspondent, and the always lovely Westchester Assemblyman Shelley Mayer, Democrat who represents the city of Yonkers.
Chopped liver for
there
the rest
you go.
of us.
Exactly. Yeah, you
Sorry.
too. Give a little background here, because people may remember it wasn't that many years ago that the hospital was ready to shutter its doors. But then the county and then the state said, okay, we're going to dig deep here and spend a whole lot of money to keep them open because of the critical nature of the services they can provide. And it went from private there to public, and now public trust, or whatever you want to call it. We're talking a lot of money, though, right?
Sure. Well, they were $100 million in debt on an operating basis, and of course their capital structure was in bad shape. Taxpayers helped bail them out. Frankly, good management helped get them into a good position. And also what needs to be remembered, a very tough negotiating session with the insurance companies at the time that through those negotiations were able to get much better reimbursement rates, and they were able to turn a huge deficit into a break-even and now a positive black. It's a possible parallel for what's happening now. Be that as it may, if we have a constituent that shows up at that medical center, they've signed up for the Affordable Care Act, they would reasonably expect that a quasi-governmental entity would in fact accept that coverage. It, after all, is not a private for-profit hospital. So it certainly would be an expectation, and if in fact they're not able to reach these agreements, would be problematic for the patients and really would not be a fair societal outcome.
It's Shelley, they're not a one-off here. There's 13 hospitals, okay? They're the only one of the 13 who all have bottom lines who said, sorry, I can't play ball with you. And again, given their history, and this might be a cheap shot, but I'm going to take it, Mr. Silver, by the way, took down $1.6 million last year, okay? Given their history that they were bailed out by the county largely and the state, to turn around and be the one-off to say, well, I'm sorry, it doesn't fit our economic model. There are real practical consequences. It's not just political hot potato. Somebody goes there. They need care. You can't just say, sorry, we're not taking your insurance.
Well, one, you can't say it. And just so people understand, you can go to the emergency room, and under federal law, you are required to be seen. So no one should have an impression that they will not treat someone. That being said, I think you're right. They are a public benefit corporation. In fact, every hospital in the state of New York is a not-for-profit. That's New York state law. They are particularly sort of special because they are this public benefit corporation that people think, and it's there to serve the people in a very inclusive way. And this is a bit of thumbing your nose at a process that, forget Obamacare, this is the state's exchange run by the state of New York. It's been successful so far. People are signing up, and they expect that one of the top hospitals in our county and in the region is going to be available to them. I think they made a big mistake. They're holding out for a rate they may not get, but they have also an obligation to negotiate a contract and get in the door and serve our constituents.
And let's be clear, I happen to know a little bit about it from some of the other hospitals. They took leaps of faith here too. It's not like this was going to be huge bonuses for their cash registers, but they said this is part of the compact, this is part of the deal, we got to do it. There's a bunch of different health plans for Westchester residents, Rockland residents, Putnam residents, so it's not like there's a one-size-fits-all. For them to say, sorry, they really are an anomaly. And I heard the hospital presidents say, well, we're also a teaching hospital. So is Montefiore, and they're also taking patients here under the plan.
Well, they could be crazy and wrong, or they could be crazy like a fox. We really have to see. My guess, if you asked me to predict, is that this is pure negotiation. If the Journal News hadn't, in fact, written this expose for their purposes, and it's good that they got the word out for sure, I think, in fact, you're going to see some positive outcomes. I think you're going to see some agreement. And it's an offer of $1 and they want $3, and it's probably going to be something in between. But again, they've done this before, and to the benefit of the entity and to the benefit of all of us by negotiating with insurance companies in the past. Let's see where the rates are. This is a brand new world, as we all know.
How does that benefit patients who are going to go to the hospital if it's a better deal for the hospital? You know,
it's neutral. It's neutral for the patient. Point is, they get to be taken. The problem now is, as Shelley indicated,
so they're just going to get a better deal than other hospitals in the county.
It's possible, but with 7 particular companies out there, 7 operations, it's hard to believe that they can't reach an agreement with one or more of those operations. What they're probably looking to do is squeeze every dollar they can, as the insurance entities don't want to give up those dollars. To the patient, they want the care. And as Shelley indicated, if they show up in emergency room care, it's the most expensive, inhumane, late session care, cancer 4, rather than getting something at the beginning. They want to be able to get there early and to be able to care, not walking in the emergency room, but walking in the front door. And at the end of the day, as long as they get that care, the public benefit is being served at that point.
Let me just add one thing. One of the benefits, and I spent 7 years in a big hospital system, to hospitals with Obamacare, is that people who are currently uninsured are going to be insured or Medicaid. And therefore, rather than having uncompensated care, that's someone who has no insurance and you provide the care and then you try to get the money and you can't and you have to do the best you can. Hospitals overall are going to benefit and have been supportive. So I think Westchester...
And you know this better than me, but with greater certainty as to the reimbursement rates, because so many hospitals explain to me, you'll do the procedure and then you got to go chase the HMO, and they'll give you a haircut on what they'll pay you, and it's how willing you are and how long to fight. There's a little bit more certainty, at least.
Absolutely.
Right?
There's a rate and you have a deal with them. But my point is, hospitals all, as the point you've made, you know, it's not like they're making money off these plans. It's a mixed bag. They're going to have more insured patients. They may have to get rates that are not as great as they want, but they have to step into this new world and negotiate. And I think they waited too long. I agree with you, Mike. They'll get there, and I hope they are feeling the pressure.
Well, I can tell you, whatever it's worth, I know some hospitals are resentful that they took the leap here, and then somebody waited to be the last one, like you see in all negotiations, to try and drive the deal here to be the last one in. Again, we're talking about patients and trying to be good soldiers here, you know.
And Richard, that's exactly the point. Imagine this scenario where one gets to say, well, this is what we're going to do, and it doesn't matter what the other hospitals do, whether you're a teaching facility or not. This is an embarrassment to the governor of this state. This is an embarrassment to the occupant and the White House. It's not going to stay the way it is. They are going to bend one way or the other.
I've heard some of your colleagues in the legislature say, we're watching this closely. The implication is, if they don't get on board here sooner than later, Albany may step in.
Well, at the health, I'm now on the health committee. We had a hearing on Monday. It was raised by my colleagues in the legislature, and it was the Commissioner of Health who said they're going to be watching it now. And the Healthcare Association, it's bad for them to have a member sort of truly an outlier, like not a single plan. Not a single plan. It'd be different if they had one and they were negotiating with 5. So I think they're under the gun now, and I think they're going to step up and
some, Michael, I've seen some hospitals accept, I'll make this up, there's 7 plans, I think, in Westchester. Yeah. Some hospitals accept 5. Some will take them all. Some will do 4 or whatever. They're accepting 0. So it's not just this stand that it's. They're not even making, you know.
Well, that's why I think what we see 0 is not going to be the ultimate. But to Shelley's point, the pressure is also going to build from below, where since the mother of this institution was Westchester County, the father was the state, and the child was this public benefit corporation, we're going to be under tremendous pressure very, very shortly from our standpoint, which is do something about it, where to some extent, in a position where we really don't have a lot except moral suasion, because we've spun it off. It's a child who's now living on their own. We can call them up and make them guilty.
Guys, we all, I mean, for residents, we wrote big checks to keep the lights on.
We did.
So for the one place that's going to say, sorry, come back to me with a better number here. I'm not going to take you guys who happen to be taxpayers, who happen to basically subsidize my existence, and you're not going to take my health insurance?
When your mother calls and says, I know you're on your own, and guilts you to some point, it works. And we understand that ability. To an early point that Shelley made, there's for Westchester County, to put a number to it, it's $30 million a year of indigent care that medical center has embedded in there. They're right now getting zero reimbursement on that. The Affordable Care Act, one of the positive benefits should be that now people are walking through and having insurance, and they're going to get, now they might not get 30 million back, but if they get 5 or 7 or 10 or some number, that's to the good of the institution as well, which then allows them to complete their mission for the rest of us.
Really quickly, guys, do you have a sense 12 months from now, 2 years from now, we're going to say, hey, you know, the New York Health Exchange is working, or the jury's going to still be out? When will we know if overall the hospital presidents, the patients, the New Yorkers here, the healthcare providers, that this will be deemed a success, a failure, or something in between? What time standard do you think we need?
Look to the clinics. One of the positive predictors here is whether the frontline clinics that give primary and to some extent secondary care, the open doors and all the rest, are doing well. If they're seeing patients, if they're on their feet and doing well, that could tell us that people are getting good frontline care in their community on an affordable basis, and maybe we're becoming a healthier community. That's a piece that people are forgetting. There's a qualitative side of this. On the other side, look to see what business bottom lines are. The other side is to see what our institutions like hospitals and the other institutions. The jury's going to be out for a while, I think.
I don't think the jury will be out for long. I think a significant number of people have already signed up through the New York Exchange. It's actually done quite well for all the complaints about others. New York has run a very good exchange. More people are already insured. It's not going to be a smooth ride finding a hospital and all the other things. But the fact is, if you have an insurance plan that you got through the exchange and you get sick in Westchester, there's a lot of hospitals you can go to now. And you're not going to end up with having to go bankrupt. So I deem it pretty close to a success.
Real quickly, next Wednesday we're talking about this. You think, and they're still messing around on the margins here, you think we hear from the governor?
I'm not sure, but I know that if the governor will comment publicly, but privately, Governor Cuomo is going to bring the hammer down on this facility.
I've already heard he's reached out to start.
Either you get along or this CEO will be gone.
And Andrew,
one of the
how
other.
about this one? How about this one? Word today that Astorino looks like he's going to fund more than an exploratory committee. It looks like more likely than not he's going to run for governor. How does he react to this one? Because he's if you're a Republican, you're going to say on principle you don't like Obamacare. Now you got a hospital that's not opting in. It's not helping your residents. I'm going to be really curious.
I think he's going to use this as example one, excuse me, of why Obamacare doesn't work, why the state exchange doesn't work. I mean, I think he's going to play to the Republican talking points as best he can to see what kind of appeal he can get, not just in New York State, but what kind of dollars he can get from the rest of the country. Excuse me.
All right, when we come back on RFL, we're going to talk politics. Bill de Blasio, well, picked a new fight here today. St. Patty's Day parade. Don't expect to see the tall mayor here wearing green here. He is going to become the first mayor in 2 decades here to skip the parade. Is the right call or not? We'll talk about that and other issues facing the Empire State right after this.